All right, so thank y'all for coming this morning. I wanted to give an update on the homicide investigation from Swan Avenue. So on Wednesday, November 27th, 2024, at approximately 2:17 in the afternoon, BRPD uniformed officers were notified of a shooting that occurred at 1022 Swan Avenue. Officers arrived to find a mother, along with her 5 children, all inside of a vehicle that were struck with numerous number of gunshots. 3 of the 5 children suffered gunshot wounds of varying degrees. All the victims were transported to the hospital, but upon arrival to the hospital, one of the children, Dylan, an 8-year-old boy, succumbed to his injuries. Officers were able to collect witness statements, shell casings, other physical evidence, and obtain video surveillance, which helped lead detectives to ultimately obtaining search and arrest warrants. Thanks to the outpouring support and tips from members of the public, we could also corroborate some of the evidence we recovered. I was at the scene of the shooting until it was cleared. I later went to the hospital and visited with the family, and I attended the balloon release for Dylan last week. I've seen the hurt in the family, but I've also seen our community come together and support them. So, through solid police work and with the help of our community, BRPD detectives were able to secure arrest warrants for 4 suspects. The investigation remains ongoing, but there are several details I can share without jeopardizing the case. I can confirm that in our attempts to effect arrest warrants, that 2 locations were hit by Baton Rouge Police Department SWAT, 8 locations by our Violent Criminal Apprehension Team, or VCAT, along with our partners with the U.S. Marshals Task Force, and 1 location with the assistance from Gonzales Police Department. On Monday, as is reported, on Monday, December 2nd, BRPD CIB officers did find the vehicle that was used in the shooting at a location outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. That vehicle is being processed for evidence. And then on Monday, December 9th, BRPD officers were able to locate and arrest one of the 4 suspects, 22-year-old Kendrick Profit. Profit has been charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder 5 counts, and illegal use of a weapon and obstruction of justice. On Thursday, December 12th, yesterday, Marshals Task Force, along with BRPD VCAT officers, were able to locate and apprehend the second of the 4 suspects, 23-year-old Yancey Gerald Jr. Gerald has also been charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder 5 counts, and illegal use of a weapon. We now have 2 remaining outstanding warrants as it relates to this investigation. Roger Parker, date of birth February 10th, 2005, and Tremel Harris, date of birth January 7th, 1997, are both wanted for first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder 5 counts, and illegal use of a weapon. I'm asking the public, if you have any information as it relates to the whereabouts of either Parker or Harris, that you reach out to either the Baton Rouge Police Department or Capital Region Crime Stoppers. I have Executive Director Johnny Dunham with Crime Stoppers here, who's going to share some details about the providing tips anonymously to Crime Stoppers. Mr. Dunham?
Thank you, Chief. Capital Region Crime Stoppers has been around for over 40 years, and not one time have we had to divulge anybody's identity. When you contact Crime Stoppers at 344-STOP or 344-7867, you are given a code number. We don't ask your name or any information. We give you a code number. We ask you to give us the information that you have, especially the information on the 2 wanted suspects here, and we'll ask you to call back in a couple of weeks. If your information pans out and the detectives use that information to make the arrest, we will schedule you for a payment, and it is a cash payment, and we will schedule you at a local area bank to go pick up that payment through the drive-through. You don't necessarily have to pick up that payment, but because it is cash, hopefully you'll have somebody that you trust if you don't want to pick up the payment. So Crime Stoppers has worked. It's worked for over 40 years. We've never released anybody's identity, not that we even know. When individuals call, we don't ask your name. We don't ask any information. We just give you a code number. So Crime Stoppers works. You can also use a P3 app. P3 is the company that handles all of the Crime Stoppers tip information across the entire country. You can download the P3 app. On your phone, you can submit videos, you can submit pictures, you can submit information, and you're assigned a code number through the app as well. And those IP addresses are not tracked in any way, and we don't have your identity, and we don't care to know your identity. We just want that information. The police cannot do this on their own. They need the public's help. The public has helped in some aspects of this investigation, and we hope that they can help get these last two individuals, or these two other individuals involved in this incident, arrested so that we can get them off the streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunham. I wanted to make sure I thanked the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, Gonzales PD, and the diligent work of our homicide and special investigations divisions of our Baton Rouge Police Department for their continued efforts towards bringing some form of closure for Mrs. Erica, Ms. Cortland, her children, and the rest of the family. Lastly, as of today, if you know the whereabouts of these suspects, you need to report it immediately. If you provide them with a place to sleep, transportation, money, or even a meal, you can be arrested for accessory after the fact for first-degree murder. Again, if you know where they are, you need to report it immediately. To the suspects, you know we have already hit a dozen locations. We are not going to stop looking for you with our state and federal partners. Wherever you try to go, we will continue to look for you and we will find you. You need to come and turn yourselves in. Again, if anybody has any information, contact Baton Rouge Police Department or Crime Stoppers, 225-344-STOP. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Could you talk a little bit more in depth about just how many resources have been exhausted trying to find these two people? You said 12 locations. Could you mention them a little bit more? How many agencies have been involved? How long has this taken? How many man-hours?
Yeah, so of course it is extremely important for us and a high priority. I can't really quantify the number of man-hours. We have our own violent criminal apprehension team, along with our Special Investigation Bureau, who's been doing a lot of work, working along with our homicide detectives who are here, everybody corroborating, and then using and relying on our other federal partners and state partners when we had to go outside of the city limits to look for some of these suspects. And like I said, right around a dozen, maybe more locations that we've gone to that we were able to locate to, and now we're continuing to look for another two.
Chief, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having us this morning. So there is 3 new suspects as of today. 2 are wanted. 1 has already been arrested. Mr. Prophet was arrested a couple of days ago. How many of these suspects fired weapons?
That's still all under investigation right now. We're not ready to release any of that. I can say that there was a lot of rounds fired on the scene. We recovered a lot of shell casings, but we're not really going to release who actually pulled the gun. But they're all being charged with the same crime because we have enough evidence to show that they were all part of the crime.
This speaks, obviously, Chief, to the crime problem here in Baton Rouge. Many of the candidates for mayor president campaigning on that platform, wanting to combat crime. What can be done about the rising crime problem in the city?
So I think that perception is reality, and it's hard, especially when we're up here talking about an 8-year-old boy who lost their life in a senseless act of violence, for me to speak on facts, but the facts contradict what you just said. The facts are that we are actually experiencing a downward trend of violent crime inside the city limits of Baton Rouge. The parish numbers might be up, but inside the city limits of Baton Rouge, all violent crime is down. Our homicide numbers are lower than they were last year, thankfully to our strong work of our Baton Rouge police officers and help from our community.
Chief, do we have the number? And I'll ask you PIOs later if you don't have the numbers, but how many homicides so far this year as compared to last year?
We're at 79 homicides so far this year. Last year, we ended up with 81. As you can remember, we had a spike at the end of last year and at the beginning of this year, where everybody in this room, all these news agencies, y'all were reporting that we were going to have the highest number of homicides that we've ever had, and that we were projected to be 90% higher than we were last year. we are under than what we were last year. And that is thanks to the hard work of Baton Rouge Police Department, as well as our community partners, because we can't do this on our own. And we've seen the help and support from our community partners coming out, and especially in times like this. Yes, sir.
Any idea of a motive why this happened?
So I don't want to really speculate in motive. I will say that all 4 of these suspects have ties to one of our violent street groups, and that it appears that they were trying to target another member of a violent street group.
And they made a mistake. Is that safe to say, Chief, that this was the wrong target, quote unquote?
I think shooting anybody is a mistake, but obviously
They thought that they were shooting at somebody else, is my question. Correct?
that's what it seems to be, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any information from the previous release about Prophet's arrest that you could elaborate on, stuff that was redacted? Anything about the location where the vehicle was found and who it related to?
Yeah, so I don't want to get into any of those details either. I will say that we executed a search warrant outside of the city, and where we were able to cover the vehicle that was used as well as some firearms. The vehicle is being processed for evidence, and that all of that stuff led us to the arrest warrants for these 4 suspects.
Thank you.
Any idea how many rounds were fired, Chief? I mean, you look at the video and it's...
I'm sure we have an exact number. I don't know if we want to release that right now. I know that we went through about 4 different alphabets right there on the crime with our crime scene investigators. They have the exact numbers, but again, we don't want to get into all of that information. How many times the car was struck, how many rounds were actually fired, what calibers and all that. That's still, we want to keep some of that to ourselves.
Any idea if these guys are still around, if they left the state?
We don't know, and that's why we're asking for the community's help. And we want, if you know anything about their whereabouts, please let us know. Wherever they went, we're going to continue to look for them. We have resources all throughout the country, and their picture is going to be plastered, hopefully, all over the national news. So we're going to continue to look for them. We're going to use every resource to our availability to find them and use our federal partners to help us find them as well. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.